Well, family, CTR Media Network. Yeah. Best in the biz. Yeah. Join the team. CTR is who we are, the media network, that's the best by far. Whether you listen at your home, at your job, in your car, come get the information that's needed above par. Never lasting, motivational podcasting, giving you the answers to the questions that you asking. Serious talks and topics, how to come up and profit, how to better yourself. Your health is here, we got it. Reaching 350 million, they tuning in. We in 50 different countries, we all can. And like-minded, find your purpose and your assignment. Come get your fix, your feel, your mental alignment. Get active and speak to the masses. Build your influence all levels and all classes. Now you know you can monetize and grow. CTR Media Network, start the show.
The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. Let's talk about it. 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 On the Vera Thomas Show. Let's talk about it.
Hello. I am so excited. I have a great guest tonight. And if you are an entrepreneur, if you are thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, you want to tune into this show. So please like, share, and comment. And please subscribe. Subscribe to the Vera Thomas Show. And right now, I'm going to bring my guest up. And I'm just so excited to have him here. Hello, David.
Hello, everyone.
Doing?
Good, thank you. It's great to be on your show.
Well, it's great to have you on my show. And before we go any further, I'm just going to tell the audience a little bit about David say your last name.
Orozco.
Okay, Orozco. We went over this before the show started. Yeah. But I still had a problem. Orozco. Okay.
That's good.
David has a JD from Northwestern University School of Law and is a tenured professor at a leading national research university. He has practiced DIY law for many years and enjoys helping folks reach successful outcomes in situations where legal problems meet the business world. David successfully applied his DIY knowledge to win battles against insurance, moving, and car rental companies. I am so honored, and trust me, there is so much more to this man's story than what I've read. And so I am going to give him some time to share with our audience a little more about David, how he has moved into his passion and his dream. And he's also going to talk a little bit about, I made the mistake of saying, he's an attorney. So he's going to share with us his legal background. And where he has decided to focus his attention. So David, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ms. Vera Thomas. So Northwestern, that was a key moment for me in my life when I decided that I was going to pursue an academic path rather than a path at a law firm. So I made a crazy move, which in hindsight was a great move. It was risky. My last year of law school, I had a job offer in hand to go to a Wall Street law firm and join that community. But I decided to pass that up. And I instead went into academia. I found some mentors Professor James Conley and Professor Clint Francis from Northwestern. And they opened my eyes to a whole different way of looking at the law. I mentioned this to my students in class. It's law and strategy. It's all about how you use the law to achieve an edge, competitive advantage, superior profitability over the long period, over the long haul, so that it's not just a fleeting moment, a quick hit, a success that disappears. That's strategy. And the law is actually there to actually help promote that in many ways. So that's what I teach a lot of times. And I gained that perspective in my law school years. And as we were talking a little bit before the show started, I believe that I'm the only person in my graduating class of 200 plus students that never sat for the bar. I just never did. I went straight into academia and just didn't even look back. Now, I do think that, practicing law is incredible, and I would like to do it. Honestly, I would, because I think, the impact would be huge, right? But, I just haven't, found the enough interest or passion to sit for this bar exam, that takes an entire summer. And to be honest, it doesn't test whether you're going to be a good lawyer or not. It does not. It's pure memorization. And it's like 50% of it is stuff you're never even going to practice. Like, seriously, that's how crazy the system is. So my mind was more attuned to other things. And I have just lived a fantastic journey, a career, right, that has taken me to really cool places, including your show.
That's wonderful. And you teach law.
Yeah.
And so I would imagine that your thoughts are that's even more impactful because you're able to change and direct young aspiring lawyers to begin to look at things from a totally different perspective.
Yeah.
And we have a comment here, love settleshock.com.
Thank you.
And then she says, love that, love that.
Cool.
Yes. And we find our purpose, we find our passion. And so you needed to get the education in law in order to do the great things that you're doing now where law is concerned.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. It's really a great thing. I specialize actually in teaching law to non-lawyers. That's what I've built my entire career around. Now teaching 16 years. And it's always been the case. I don't teach at law schools. I teach at business schools.
Okay.
So my audience are young business people, entrepreneurs, people who are just starting. And the law and strategy mindset is really good. It changes, I think, their perspective. They're like, okay, this is important stuff. We need to become more aware of it.
Yeah. So tell me about Settle Shark and how did you come about developing this company and what impact do you see your company having on businesses, small businesses, medium-sized businesses, solo businesses?
Yeah, definitely. So Settle Shark started in 2019. I had experienced, like every consumer in this country, the problem of a business doing something unethical or illegal against the contract, just totally behaving the wrong way. And I had to, basically find a way to fight this system and get money back often, or avoid them trying to collect damages or charges that were totally made up in the thousands of dollars, by the way. This wasn't just hundreds of dollars. This was thousands of dollars. And I was like, hey, this can't be right. So I figured out the legal system and how it works in this area of consumer law, because I was not familiar with that. I had focused on business law, intellectual property, and these were like real issues every day, and I'm thinking, okay, I got to deal with this because it's not right and it won't happen. So I figured out, some really interesting stuff along the way. And when I figured it out, I thought to myself, it's amazing to me that it's this hard, right? Someone like me had to spend time figuring this out. It's so hard, and B, that it's not, more available for people to figure out how to fight this system, because it's really unfair.
Yes. We have a couple of comments. Dr. Lydia Lewis, she says, yes, law brings certainty to the things that we can do in our lives. And then we also have a comment that's fascinating, teaching entrepreneurs with the law mindset. And do you mind sharing so that people can kind of grasp what it is you're talking about as it relates to the millions of dollars
Yeah.
that people were losing or being treated so unfairly? So can you kind of talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So the cases I'm talking about were things like a moving company that took my stuff and stored it in a warehouse for weeks and then broke things. I mean, that was never agreed upon, and they did that, and that was terrible. There was a car rental company that wanted to charge me $3,000 for damages that I didn't cause and were not my responsibility, but yet they were sending collections, right? The other one was an insurance company that didn't want to pay a claim. I submitted all the paperwork. I told them what I wanted. They just ignored me and didn't want to pay. And the other one, I forget what it was, but these were the kind of issues, consumer issues, real consumer issues. So what I did was I figured out that the law is a lot about process. You know, I'm teaching my students that, right? That half of it is what are your rights? The other half is, are you going to follow the steps? Because the law is all about doing things a certain way. You know, whether it's right or wrong or great, that's even irrelevant, right? The law says you just have to do it this way. So I figured out the procedure for getting my money back or stopping these claims, and it's really something called a demand letter. And most people, again, don't even know about this. They're like, what? The other day I was talking to somebody and he said, hey, what's a demand letter? And that question blew me away, because I figured, you know, most people just don't even know what a demand letter is and how powerful it is, because it's part of that process, like I said. So the demand letter in and of itself isn't enough. It has to be worded and reference certain things that will motivate a company to engage in that conversation that leads to a settlement. And I figured it out. I figured out how these letters work, the right language, the right trigger points to get them to think, okay, you know what, we just need to settle this rather than deal with this stuff, right? And that's what a good demand letter does, is it lays it out and basically says, this is how we're going to resolve this dispute. And by the way, the law is on my side, right? And my business also is going to take a hit if we don't do this. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into a good demand letter, but that's basically what we do. And that's what I figured out, is that that's what it takes to get these people to say, okay, you know what, we're not going to do this. Now we're going to move over here. And yeah, so SettleShark automates that online. It took us 2 years to write the software, and all you have to do is fill out some information on the website once you create a profile. And if you click pay now, $47 in your inbox, a few seconds later, you'll get this powerful demand letter.
Oh my God. And that's for any situation.
Yeah, any type of consumer related dispute.
Oh my goodness. You
absolutely.
hear that, people? You hear that?
Yeah. We've all had these experiences, and we all know somebody who has these issues, right?
So you can create a demand letter for any situation that a consumer may have to deal with, and also where a small business may have to deal with.
Absolutely. Small businesses are also consumers. You know, they buy stuff, they have contracts. So yeah, they get treated unfairly. Absolutely.
And people can go to info, they can contact you at info@settleshark.com.
Yeah, that goes straight to our inbox. You know, we all check it every day. We're reviewing communications. So if you want to get in touch with us, send us an email there for sure. We'll get back to you.
Yes. And you can also connect with him on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and also LinkedIn.
Absolutely.
So and you know, earlier you and I were talking about some of the things that are coming down the pipe that businesses really need to be cognizant of and need to really kind of have their guards up on. And one of those things you talked about, AI. And so
Yeah.
I'd like for you to kind of share with our audience a little bit more about AI and what companies need to really kind of be aware of.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've spoken to programmers who work at companies like Amazon, and these are people who are working directly with AI and developing technologies for Amazon to use AI. So I think from a business perspective, you have to think of it from a strategy standpoint, right? Again, going back to strategy, what are the risks and what are the opportunities? And how is this landscape changing? How am I going to be left behind? Settle Shark, for example, is thinking about AI because they are a competitor, I'm sure. They are right now even a competitor. And we have to be sharp about it, right? And we are. So if you want to learn more, you can look at some best practices as well. For example, the company Getty Images, which I think we were talking about before the show started.
Yes, I want to put this in the chat. You said
So-
Getty Images.
Yes, Getty Images, very famous company that aggregates great photos.
Yes.
They have a huge library of images that people want to license and put on their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they started a lawsuit in federal court in Delaware against an AI company called Stable Diffusion. And that company just aggregates images from the web. I mean, sucks them all in and then uses them to create new images. And that case is in court, and Getty is using strategy, right? Because this is their business. If this company thrives, this could put Getty in a very bad position. And their strategies are really good. They're like at the top. They're best practices, or better than best practices. They're cutting edge. They put watermarks on their images, right? So they can trace who's using the images. They use metadata, which again, I'm not a software person, so I don't even know how that works, but they're using metadata. And they're litigating aggressively. They're enforcing their rights. They're saying no. Early on, we are going to define the law. We're going to go to a jurisdiction that we think is strategically a great one, which for some reason they chose Delaware. And they're going to litigate this case. And I was having a conversation with Dr. Lydia about this. We bounce ideas all the time, and she's very interested in these topics. And she said that that Getty Images isn't going to settle. And I thought that was really a great insight.
Absolutely.
They're not going to settle. They're going to say, we want the case decided by a judge and a jury.
And the public needs to be aware of that. Because being that I use graphics and things of that nature, you actually have to, for certain images, you have to click approve before you can even use those items. And if not, they don't show up on your information. They just won't even show up. And so Getty needs to be rigorous about this. And there are other things now. Dr. Liddy, she also says AI will never win against the human creativity.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. Our brains we don't even understand our own brain. So we can understand a computer. Our smartest people can. I can't, but they know how computers work. Nobody knows how our brain works. Even the smartest people in the world, they're 100 or 1,000 years behind on that. So I agree.
But one of the concerns is, and I've been listening to different news outlets regarding AI, the fact that they can take an image like ours and create a digital image that looks just like us.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the concerns is that they're going to be walking around beside us as robots. But looking like humans, which is so sci-fi.
Oh, it's all sci-fi. We're living in the future right now. That's it. This is it.
It's amazing. That is amazing. And I know we had also talked about, from a legal perspective, how Google downloaded all the books in the world, and now you can go to Google for anything and find it.
Yeah.
How does that impact on creators and people that?
So the Getty case is actually going to rely probably on that precedent set by the Google case, which was fair use, right? They said we're allowed to scan every book in the world, even though we don't have the author's or publisher's permission, because we're Google. And then they went to court and they said, we're going to prove that we can do this. And they won, right? They won. They got fair use. It's a defense, right?
So as a researcher, you can Google something, get the information, and just identify Google as the resource.
Well, so Google with books basically said, we're going to copy all the books and scan them digitally, but we're not going to share them with the world. Our databases are going to allow people to search Google books and find relevant pieces of information.
Yes.
And then say, okay, that came from this book. Now I need to go find the book if I want to read it or whatnot. And that's what Google did. And that's why they were able to get away with this fair use defense, right?
Wow.
Now, this AI using images is not going to have the same argument, right? They're actually taking over the image space using other people's images. So, but the courts are going to have to decide all this, and they will. It'll take a little bit of time, but they'll get through it. And there's so much strategy that business people can think about, with stuff like this. Like,
let's talk about some of those strategies.
Yeah. So one that we adopted in Settle Shark, and again, we took a page from companies like Getty, is in your terms of use, if you have content that is original, that is, author created, you need to put in your terms of use that the use of this information is restricted against AI and data processing that uses those techniques. That way, when people actually sign up for your service, you're informing them that the data is not to be used for AI purposes.
That is amazing. Now I'm putting this stuff in the chat so that people will have it. So put in your terms of use. Repeat what you said.
Sure. Put in your terms of use that this data that is being licensed, right, to the end user or to the customer is not to be used by artificial intelligence, right? And use the language basically that you want to protect your assets, right? And companies like Getty do that. So you could look at Getty's terms of use and see what they wrote. They wrote some good stuff.
Okay. And now this goes for any creators, like digital books, training.
Yeah.
All of that.
Pictures, movies, songs, poems, video games, podcasts, you name it, databases, you name it. It's content.
And let me ask you, as a company, do you provide documents like this for your clients?
No, Settle Shark is only limited to ensuring fairness for consumers through the demand letter.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's it. That's what we're doing right now.
So you specialize in the demand letter.
That's it.
But
the dispute resolution process.
We can't say that's it because that's a lot.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's been used successfully in a moving case in Tallahassee for $700 of value, right? Offer. The moving company literally said, let's make this deal. Here's $700. And that was their starting offer. When the customer had been ignored for about 4 months. Totally ignored. Given the runaround, basically. So that was one case. Our first case was a gentleman in New Jersey who pumped gas from one of these huge gas companies, and it turned out to be bad gasoline. Now, I didn't even know that was a thing, but he took it to the mechanic. They said, you got sold some bad gas. It's going to cost $500 to scrub the engines and all that, cylinders or whatever. And yeah, he paid out of pocket. He contacted this big gas company. They ignored him. They didn't even respond. They didn't even say anything. Not even a runaround. It was just straight, no way. We don't even want to talk to you. So then he uses our letter, and within a couple weeks, he got a response from the company, an official response saying that they were going to open the claim and he needed to submit some paperwork. And then a few months later, he got a check for $503 in the mail.
Wow.
Those are two of the stories. Yeah, we have some more, but yeah, that's kind of what we do, you know.
That's amazing. Dr. Also Media Network says you can get additional information from Dr. Liddy, legalwellness.com after you receive settleshark.com services. All right, all right, all right.
Absolutely.
Yes. And I know Dr. Liddy works with you. You said you have 3 partners.
There's 3 of us in the company.
Okay. Talk about that.
So it's myself. You know, I came up with the idea and kind of the legal strategy side, right? And Dr. Liddy jumped in with the regulatory perspective. She used to regulate Wall Street and consumer protection laws in New York. So she came in and just added a whole new level, right, of enforcement perspective and strategy. And then Lonnie was our programmer, because neither of us are software people. So we needed, you know, somebody to make this happen, right? And that took 2 years, and it was learning and changing. And, you know, I didn't know anything about the technology industry or business really. And other than my research and my teaching, but, you know, what it taught me is that, you know, running a tech company is a wild thing. It's really wild. You have to have a different mindset than what I originally had. And that mindset is that nothing ever gets done quickly. Everything is going to connect with everything else. And there's just going to be moments where you feel really frustrated and you're just like, nothing's getting done. We're not advancing, you know?
Yes.
And my personality is like, let's get things done quickly and go. Yeah. And this was like, nope, not happening. You know?
That's why you need a little bit of both in a business. You know, the visionary that says, hey, let's do it now. And then the person that says, hold your brakes, hold them down. But you're also an example of how you turned your pain of all the frustrations that you had with the moving company and all these the insurance company. Yeah. You turned your pain into your purpose. You're a perfect example.
Yeah, you're right.
Of that being done, you know?
Thank you.
And Dr. Liddy, she says, one way to protect your stuff from AI is to put in your terms of use. You can prevent the use of AI with your products and services. No permission is granted, period.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Period.
Nothing.
Yes. Those of you that are creators, those of you that are you either doing podcasts, you're doing training, you're writing music, you're singing, you're in the entertainment industry, you're in movies or any of those things, clearly understand to protect yourself. And in order to protect yourself, you can contact Settle Shark.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to call you everything, but what it is, okay. Settle Shark. Or you can contact Dr. Liddy, legalwellness.com, and she's going to be one of my guests at another time as well. So listen, you need to protect yourself. You need to know what your rights are.
Yes.
And you need to understand that a demand letter will get you what you want and get you what you need, which is justice. Mm-hmm. Justice.
That's right.
All right. Darlene Clayton, she's one of my avid followers. Thank you, Darlene, for being here. She says, awesome advice. Awesome advice. Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, I've got a commercial that I've got to play.
Okay.
And so I'm going to play the commercial and then I'll be right back. Let me pull one up here. I have several actually, but we're going to start with this.
CTR Media Network has amazing opportunities to expand the visibility of business owners, entrepreneurs, authors, coaches, and podcasters on our platform. Would you like to be interviewed on any of our podcasting shows where we're booking right now? So go to ctrmedianetwork.com. Would you like to have an ad in our upcoming Podcast Revolution magazine? Well, simply go to our website and place your ad today. We also have commercial placement opportunities. We would love to play your commercial during the airing of our CTR Media Network Live and the Tina Ramsey Show. We would love to partner with you. If you feel that your business is a right fit, contact us about our sponsorship opportunities. CTR Media Network has a variety of different opportunities to fit every budget. So reach out to us by going to ctrmedianetwork.com and book the appropriate ad for yourself today.
CTRmedianetwork.com. If you are a podcaster and you want to expand and you want to grow and you want to monetize, you want to contact CTR Media Network. If you are new or you're thinking about possibly becoming a podcaster, you want to contact CTRmedianetwork.com. If you want to be a sponsor or you want to advertise on any of our shows, and I'm asking for you to think about mine, then by all means contact the Vera Thomas Show at CTRmedianetwork.com. Yes. Okay. Back to the show. Okay. Now, Sheila C. Hill, she says, enjoying the show. Well, thank you for listening. Thank you so much. And she says, I love CTR Media Network. Yes, absolutely. All right, all right, all right. Okay. Now, back to what we were talking about. One of the things, like when we talk about consumer protection, and then we talk about entrepreneurs and small businesses, if you can kind of shed some light on some of the things that small businesses, they need to really think about as they are developing their businesses, and even if they're seasoned businesses, what are some things that they really need to consider with their business?
Oh, there's so much. Wow. Where to even begin? So I'll just use Settle Shark as a case study, basically. So, we had this idea, we talked, we formed a team. Then we said, okay, you know what? Based on my teaching and experience looking at cases, it's really a good idea to lay out the legal foundation early, really early, as soon as possible, actually. So once you have a good sense of who's going to do what, who's going to contribute what, you form a company. We formed an LLC. So you form an LLC, and this is stuff Dr. Liddy does all the time, left and right. So an LLC, and then you create your operating agreement, which basically is kind of like the bylaws, which says, okay, this is what you're going to do. This is what I'm going to do. This is your authority. And an operating agreement lays out things like how we're going to vote for things, stuff like that. Really important stuff. We used a company to do that charged us like $300, and Dr. Liddy, helped us out. So it was pretty straightforward. And then after that, it was just a matter of also signing some contracts with some vendors, stuff like that. You want to review your agreements. You want to read. I teach my students all the time. You just got to read the contracts. There's no way around it. When you're dealing with contracts, every word matters, So you got to be careful and read these agreements and negotiate them, right? And then other stuff that was critical was the trademark, right? The great name that we got. So we applied for the federal trademark and got it. So we got the trademark. It took a year and a half of time and some communications with the trademark office, but we finally did it and we got the federal trademark. And that's powerful. That's good in all 50 states, so you're covered in every state.
That's a valid point, because I know there was some talk about just looking at your state, but no, you want a national trademark.
Yeah, and the thing about a federal trademark is with federal law, you have to cross more than one state for it to become federal. And the beautiful thing about the trademark law is that it says the minute you cross another state line with a sale, you're eligible for federal trademark. That's it.
And with people doing business through the internet,
there you go.
I mean, it's a no-brainer. But what about from an international perspective?
Oh, wow. So, we haven't had any exposure to international ourselves in the company, although some people I've engaged with on Twitter have asked us if we sell our product in the UK. And I was like, wow, no, not yet. Hopefully we'll get there, but that would be really cool. International is just a whole different ballgame. At that point, you're dealing with different countries, different cultures, different regulations, politics. And it's
Yes.
like, that's just like a whole different scenario.
Yes,
So you
that
gotta,
could be daunting.
yeah, you gotta be, um, ready for a pretty high level to engage in that. And we're not even close to that, but every country has their own laws.
Yes.
It's like with IP. If you want to get a patent in the US, that's great. But anybody, anywhere else in the world can literally copy your technology without liability. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Because a patent is only good in the country where you obtain it. So if you get a patent in the US, that means nothing anywhere else in the world. Anywhere.
Wow.
That means you have to patent your invention in those countries if you don't want to get ripped off in those countries.
Well, do you talk about how to go about doing that kind of stuff?
No. That's the kind of stuff Dr. Lydia is an expert in. She actually has done training for the World Intellectual Property Organization.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
going to have her come on and talk about these things.
She'll tell you a couple stories about our trip to Haiti. Actually, we went to Haiti to get together on a WIPO mission, to do some training with folks. And it was interesting. It was fantastic. It was amazing.
Wow. So you've done some international stuff already yourself.
Oh yeah. Trainings, conferences, all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
That's wonderful. That is awesome. We're going to go to another commercial and then we'll be right back and continue this conversation. We still got a lot to talk about.
Let's do it.
So let me do this right.
Mama Knows creates high quality products that are available to be used on multiple textures of hair. Her goal is to bridge the gap to stop people from having to use multiple products because of families with multiple hair types. Her products are currently being used on men, women, children of all ethnicities. Mama Knows products are available at www.mamaknowsproducts.com. That's www.mamaknowsproducts.com. You can also find her on Instagram at Mama Knows Products because, Mama knows what you need.
Hair. And so this girl, she was one of my guests as well, and she knows hair. And these products, I've started using these products. They are awesome. They make your hair feel so good. They really do. So mamaknowsproducts.com. All right. Now, David, I'd like for you to share with our audience some other things that you have recognized and that was very important for your students to know. We talked about AI, we talked about the demand letters, but what are some other things that you impart on your I was going to say children, that you impart on your students that our audience needs to know? And audience, if you have some questions, some legal questions that you need to ask, please chime in. All right.
Yeah, so we just talked about ethics, actually. Yesterday we mentioned ethics, which is a critical topic in the law. I mean, it's and business. I mean, it's something that is oftentimes elusive in our society and in our companies. But it should always be achieved, and the law is there to make sure it's achieved. Just think of consumer fairness and protection, for example. But the law, isn't perfect. It doesn't always match onto ethics. I teach my students about that. Strategy can be used actually in a way that is unethical, right? Law and strategy can actually be used unethically in some cases, and I teach my students about that. I tell them,
an example?
Yeah. So, there's cases where, companies can lobby to destroy another company, for example, right? And that's using an advantage that many other companies just don't have. just for the purposes of preserving your own advantage, right, over these other companies. And that's in my view, not competition,
Yeah.
or an ethical way to compete, just the other day, we were talking about the tax code and how companies, navigate the tax code. They hire really expensive lawyers and accountants, and they navigate the tax code to avoid paying taxes. And that's just something that, regular companies and people don't have access to, right? But the law actually says it's legal, right? So these are the kind of things that I like to examine and talk about in my class. I really want the students to think that ethics matters and has real consequences in companies and society. So that's a topic that I like to really talk about, ethics.
And it's so unfortunate that our society today, ethics, integrity just seems to have just gone out the window. And so for companies, you want to make sure that you're ethical and that you have integrity when dealing with your customers, whether your customers are business to business or consumer or direct. However, you want to use integrity
Yeah.
in your business, because I believe you reap what you sow. And even though, people may get away with all these different things over time, but eventually it comes back and it bites them. And we're kind of seeing some of that stuff happening even right now in some of the things that are going on in our society.
Yeah. I mean, one concept that I teach my students about throughout the entire class is the idea of good faith. And that's encoded. Yeah, that's encoded in the law over and over again in all these different areas of law. I mean, it's in contracts. It's in just about every area of law, right? Even when you're dealing with a regulator, you have to show good faith. You have to just be someone who's honest, in your dealings. And the law takes note of that. The law definitely takes note of that a lot.
Yes, but we have so many companies out here that are not adhering to good faith, who are not honest in their dealings. And how would you, or what would you suggest to a consumer or to even another business? What kinds of things? Oh, Dr. Liddy, she says ethics and integrity are not always what companies think of first when it comes to generating sales. Of course, they're thinking about the dollar, the mighty dollar, and they could care less about. So what would you say to a company that's possibly, getting started, to ensure that they are, in fact, money is, yes, we need money. Money is important. However, how we get it is just as important. Come on. I mean, integrity, honesty, good faith. Those things are so critical, period. Particularly in business. So talk about that and just kind of share some things, because I can get on a bandwagon. And I need them down.
Yeah, no, I mean, I find it fascinating. For example, today the students and I were talking about landlord-tenant law. And I showed them the Florida statutes. And the Florida statutes, give tenants a lot of protections, and tenants just don't even know about it. You know what I mean? They just don't even know. And actually, in the statute, it says, every landlord has the obligation of good faith, in maintaining this relationship, this landlord-tenant relationship. I mean,
that is
right
a
there,
major issue.
at the very beginning of that law, it says that the parties have an obligation of good faith toward each other. Yeah.
Oh man, and what I don't understand is how landlords can jack your rent up so high. I mean, and it's okay.
Well, what's funny? Oh my, it's not funny, but the students have so many of these stories. It's crazy and it's terrible because they're being taken advantage of. They're young.
Yes.
They have some money to spend on housing, and it's terrible. It's one of the most unethical, scenarios I've seen in many areas of business, and moving companies are not far behind, right? For some reason, those moving companies, they need to clean up their act, they need to clean up their game. So, but yeah, the landlords, oh my gosh, especially the ones that are kind of dealing with people, and you know what? It's just abusive, and it happens way too often.
And I mean, I'm a victim.
Yeah.
I'm a victim. It is. I just can't believe how, and it's heartless.
Yeah.
Heartless.
Well, I mean, listen. In the past few days, I've heard stories of someone who sent a rent payment to a company that then disappeared and took the money, and another company took over the property, and now they're like, we didn't get a check.
Right.
That's one scenario.
Yes.
And then there was another scenario, you won't believe this, where there was fleas inside the apartment. Yeah, fleas. And they were like, it's on you. You need to fix that. That's what they said.
Oh,
So,
no.
I mean, this is just, it could be borderline criminal behavior, to be honest. It's bad.
That is bad. Well, I remember living in a house, paying my rent every month, paying my rent on time. I came home one day, and there was a notice to evict.
Oh no!
Because the landlord was not paying the mortgage.
Oh no!
And
that's terrible.
That was on the news here. That just happened recently here as well.
That's really, really bad. I'm sorry.
Yes.
That's terrible.
Yes.
That's shady. I mean, that's criminal, actually. That's really bad.
It is. I mean, I was a single mother, with my son, and we're paying, like I said, we're paying our rent on a regular, and then the landlord's not paying his mortgage. And, I mean, it really put us in a bad situation. Wow. So landlord-tenant laws. One thing you need to understand, audience, tenants have rights.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to recognize what your rights are. There are landlord-tenant associations. I don't know how effective they are anymore. Can you speak on that?
Yeah, so there's definitely like local, agencies that will give tenants a lot of really good, helpful advice. They actually have lawyers on the phone, right? And they'll give good legal advice how to deal with this. And each state is different, right? So I'm more familiar with Florida. That's where I live. And actually the statute is very favorable for tenants, believe it or not, in that state.
Yes,
but like people don't know. People just don't
like you said, tenants don't realize.
No,
they think that whatever your landlord or your leasing company is doing is okay.
It is
when
not.
In actuality, it is not.
It is
and you
not.
have rules. There are things that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And so Google landlord tenant associations and fair housing. That's the other thing. Google fair housing in your community and ask questions. Don't be bullied. Don't allow others to dictate and make you feel like you can't ask us these questions.
Yeah, and that gets to the origins of Settle Shark, because I was dealing with these issues myself, and I don't have a license to practice, right? So I don't want to hire a lawyer. I have a law degree, right? I can use my knowledge, right? So I did, and it was work. I had to look up statutes. I had to read regulations, contracts. It was work, but I wanted to do it, and I felt like it was necessary. And I used the DIY, right, do it yourself type of ideology and mentality, and it worked, right, because of my background and all that, and it was great. But then I thought to myself, well, this should be available to everybody. This was actually meant for the people, but now it's being kept away from the people. And I was like, that's crazy. We have
therefore Settle Shark exists.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly it. Yes.
And Dr. Lydia, she says, tell everyone who gets an eviction notice, go to court.
Yes,
The
yes.
judge will listen to you.
Mhm.
Always pay your rent by check or money order and never in cash.
This is
And
true.
I know a lot of leasing companies, they will not accept cash, period. I know the leasing company that I'm at, they do not accept cash
Mhm.
under any circumstance, which is great because then you got a paper trail.
Yes, the paper trail. And again, that goes to the whole idea of process. If you do things a certain way, the law is on your side. I tell my students all the time. It's like half of it is what are your rights? What's the law? Figuring it out. And then the other half is how are you going to get to your result? And the law is very finicky about process. So process matters a lot.
I'm writing what you're saying about process. So process is very important.
Oh yeah,
Process
yeah. And
is
Settle Shark
critical.
actually uses that knowledge to get results, because we understand the process.
And it's in your favor in most cases.
Oh yeah, yeah. Landlord tenant's a great example. Very great.
Yes. Well, I do have another commercial.
Okay.
And then we're going to come back and let's see which one. Oh, okay. Yes, San Pete Financial Group. If you are interested in looking at getting dollars to help support your business or real estate or any of those kinds of things, you want to contact www.sanpetefinancialgroup.com. And that's Right Honorable Lady Yvonne Gamble. Ask for her and she can steer you in the right direction. All right. So we are winding down. We've got like 8 minutes left. And so we got some other things that we need to talk about. And again, if you would just kind of reiterate what Settle Shark is all about.
Yes, absolutely.
And again, I want to call you everything but what you are. I don't know what's wrong with my tongue. I'm sorry.
It's a
But
tongue
twister. Anyway, yes,
Yeah.
you tell them.
Oh yeah, so Settle Shark is a company that is for the consumer. It basically helps you resolve any type of consumer dispute you have with a company where they are taking your money and not doing what they promised to do. And we get results for consumers. It's one flat fee of $47, no subscription. You pay per letter, and it's customized for your situation and the law in your area. Actually, it's customized for all that. So then if you get that demand letter to the company, and we'll give you information on how to do that effectively using the process system for getting good results, then you have a much higher chance of actually getting the company to respond, acknowledge, and offer a settlement, right? And we have proven results on that. So check us out, settleshark.com.
Settleshark.com. And he is Mr. Settle Shark himself.
That's right. That's right.
And he did this. It was as a result of his pain.
Well, it was.
Yeah.
Although I have to give credit, right? Always, and I have to give credit to Dr. Tina Ramsey, who gave me that name. She said, "You're Mr. SettleShark.com."
Oh, did she?
That's right. That's right.
Well, it works.
I think so. She's a great marketer.
It definitely works. She is.
She has a great marketing mind.
Yes, she does. And that's why CTR Media Network.
Yes.
You want to contact CTRmedianetwork.com. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. And we have another comment coming in. Okay. https://settleshark.com. I'm
Thank
going to
you.
leave that up here
Thank you.
so that people can contact settleshark.com.
There you go.
That's all. That's a tongue twister.
It is. It is.
Like Peter Piper picked a peck of. Don't mind me.
No, it's fine. It's good. It's all good.
But so anyway, settleshark.com.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm telling you, if you want demand letters or you want more information regarding your rights, your consumer protections, all of that, you want to contact settleshark.com.
Please do. Yeah. And we have an email, info@settleshark.com. So reach out to us, email. We're going to set up a phone number soon. Actually, we're in the process of doing that.
Okay.
So we'll have that up soon online in a matter of days. So
yes. Yeah. And you can find them on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, all social media.
Yeah, absolutely. If you go to our website, it has all the social media links. So yeah, check us out.
Absolutely. And I want to invite you guys to attend a workshop that I'm doing on June 3rd at noon Eastern Standard Time. And I'm going to be sharing some of the misconceived behaviors that's impacting on our families, on our workplaces, on our society as a whole. And so it's a free workshop. And so the link, you can go to LinkedIn and register there right now. I just set it up for today. I just set it up. So I will have my Eventbrite and all of that for you to register as well. And again, it's free on June 30th. So save the date. Save the date. I'll be marketing more on that later on. Okay. Well, I am so honored that you have been here, David, and I want to give you opportunity to just kind of share anything else you want to share regarding what you're doing or anything that's going to uplift, encourage, motivate, inspire, and or educate. You have the floor.
No, thank you so much. So first of all, I just want to say thank you to you, CTR Media Network, your listeners. I'm pretty new to podcasting, but I really enjoy it a lot. I think it's a really cool opportunity to connect with people and get a story out and listen to other stories. So I'm really excited to engage with you as a podcaster for sure, and subscribe and listen to your podcasts because I find them uplifting. I find them uplifting and engaging and informative. So I appreciate the fact that we've been able to share the Settle Shark story. Oh, I almost didn't pronounce it right. You're messing with my head. Settle Shark. Settle Shark.
I'm sorry.
Thank you for letting me share the Settle Shark story tonight on your show. It's been fantastic, and I hope your listeners reach out because we all have these issues. It's terrible, but there is a system within the system, believe it or not, that allows you to figure this out and work through it. And we're here to help, consumers go through that and they realize that we're on their side. They're not alone. And we need to make it more balanced, right? We need to make things more balanced. So that's kind of what we're all about. And it's going to be a great journey. It has been already, and it feels like it's gaining some momentum, which is good. And 2023 might be a great year, for our company.
It is a great year. Claim it.
Thank you. All right, it is. It is a great year. It is a great year.
Yes.
I love
it. I have. It's been a pleasure having you here, and I know that you've given a wealth of information. And this will be aired over and over and over again as a podcast, as well as on YouTube. People can pick it up and listen to it at any time. And I just want to thank you again for being my guest today. And I'm looking forward to some great things happening. And I'm looking forward to you guys working even with me and my company to help get it where it needs to go.
Absolutely.
And with that, I just want to thank our audience for tuning in. And we will see you all next week. next Tuesday. So until then, have a great weekend. And remember to love on each other and be a light. Be a light. Be a light. All right. Well, listen, thank you. And if you could hold on.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Okay. All right. See you guys later.
The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. Let's talk about it. 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 On the Vera Thomas Show. Let's talk about it.